Hare Krishna, Krishna
Kala
Krishna,
kala aja.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, Hare Krishna. uh, कौन कौन है आज? तो चलो देखते हैं कौन कौन है. प्राची जी है, माधवी, रिया जी है, निधि, द्विविशा, और कौन कौन है? जानवी, Nidhi, welcome. So welcome everybody.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So अभी सब टेस्ट खत्म हो गया या कुछ टेस्ट बाकी है? आप लोग टेस्ट ले रहे थे? निधि, Riya, Divisha, right? And Prachi and Jahnavi. Okay, so we'll start by the time other people can join. So Jahnavi is going to say something about chanting today. Hare Krishna, Janu.
Very well. So today we'll be talking about some tips Srila Prabhupada gave for chanting. So when Prabhupada was a householder, he used to chant his 16 rounds by equally dividing it up throughout the day. He would chant 4 rounds before each meal and 4 rounds before going to sleep in the evening. So in this way, he wouldn't eat without chanting first. He also suggested that whenever you feel tired while chanting, it is good to pace back and forth or walk while you chant so that your mind and body is more awake. Another helpful trick Prabhupada mentioned that can be used to keep your mind steady while chanting is to immediately replace any negative or sinful thoughts that cloud your mind with positive thoughts while you're chanting. So, for example, if you're chanting and all of a sudden you smell some nice prasad from somewhere and you think about having that prasad for your lunch, instead you can think about how happy the Lord will be to receive such a nice offering. So, in this way, you engage your mind in the pleasure of the Lord while chanting. So now we will chant 1 round. Take your bead in between your thumb and your middle finger, and you say Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasaya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare, Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare 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 Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. So आप लोग जो जब करें कंटिन्यू कीजिए, जो खत्म किए नहीं तो फिर कंटिन्यूसली ये एक माला पूरा होना चाहिए. इन द मीनवाइल मैं आपको अपना स्क्रीन शेयर करूंगा. थोड़ा हम लोग जो हमारे एक्टिविटीज था व्हाट्सएप में पोस्ट किया था उसके बारे में हम लोग चर्चा करेंगे. तो कुछ लोगों ने जवाब दिया, तो एक डिस्कशन भी था. तो आई एम गोइंग टू go on that one, the discussion one. आशा किया कि आप लोग ने अच्छा लगा आपको. पिछले बार जो कैलेंडर का जो काफ़ी समीरा ने अपने कैलेंडर को पोस्ट किया व्हाट्सएप में, तो जिन्होंने कोशिश किया कैलेंडर बनाने के लिए वो ऑनलाइन भी बना सकते हैं. ऐसा नहीं कि फिजिकली बना सकते हैं, लेकिन ऑनलाइन भी बना सकते हैं आप लोग एक कैलेंडर. तो हम लास्ट यूट्यूब वाला वीडियो हम देखेंगे. इज अनवीबल ये को तो ये नहीं आ रहा है. चलो देखते हैं कौन सा वाला लिंक है. ये वाला लिंक मैं ट्राई करता हूँ क्योंकि प्लेलिस्ट में एक ये भी नहीं आ रहा है. ओके, 1 सेकंड. ओके, ये हमारा वीडियो है. 1 मिनट, skip that. Can you see the video, Janavi? You're unable to see the video? I'll try to share that once. Yeah, 1 second. I'll try to share it. 1 second. I'll try to share 1 second. Share. Oh, basic share. Okay, now we'll be able to see that. Share करते हैं. Okay, everybody can see the video. Give me a 5. You can see the video. Give me a 5.
We can't hear anything.
You can't hear, but you can see the
प्रभु जी
video, right?
वीडियो तो दिख रहा है पर ऑडियो नहीं है.
ऑडियो नहीं आ रहा है. हाँ,
Oh, no, audio नहीं आ रहा है. Okay, चलो ये मैं कोशिश करेंगे, ये नहीं हो रहा है तो ओके 1 सेकंड। अच्छा, जिन्होंने ये वीडियो देखा हाथ खड़े करने, give me a 5 so all the people who seen the video so I can have a look who saw the video on your screen. You can give a 5 जो जिन्होंने ये देखा। Okay, Divisha dekha. Divisha, can you share a little bit to what you find interesting in the video? Divisha.
Yes, yes, I have written it in the Google Classroom also.
Yeah, I know you did that. So I just wanted you to like, take 1-2 minutes just to share with the class. You don't mind?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just a minute, please.
Okay. Himanshu also, I think,
Yeah.
answered. Yeah.
So
Let
in
me
that
see.
video, Prabhuji told us about the Bhagavad Gita, that
Yeah.
he gives the main three lessons from the Bhagavad Gita. So, like first one he told was that we should be even in all the situations, whether it be cold or hot, whether it be happiness or sadness, whether we get the success or failure, we should not be like very happy when we get the success or very sad when we get the failure. And the
Mhm.
second lesson he gave was that we should try to see uh, God in everything, whether it be person or any animal or any non-living thing also, because he's everywhere. And sometimes we feel jealous of the people who are doing more better than us. So we should not think it that way. We should think that it is it is just because the God is in him and he is doing the things.
I would like to ask you a question, just like the interviewer were asking Prabhu Gorgopal about what choices he made, and he was saying that he made the right choices in life, that he got nice teachers from he could learn from, and nice friends association. What do you think about that? Does that help in some way in your life? How can we implement
So you are
that?
not audible.
Oh, oh, 1 second.
I can get your voice.
मेरा वॉइस आ रहा है?
Yeah,
यस
I
ब्रो,
can
एक मिनट में मैं स्टॉप शेयर करके देखता हूँ। पहले शेयर किया
हाँ,
था उससे। हाँ, अभी
हेलो,
देखिए।
अभी आ रहा है मेरा आवाज? हेलो,
योर वॉइस इज क्लियर फॉर मी। आपकी आवाज क्लियर है एकदम मेरे लिए।
ओके ठीक है। तो
बाकी
ये
बच्चों को आ
हम
रही है आवाज?
I can hear.
Okay.
you can hear, right? Divisha, can you hear me? Maybe she can't hear. Anyway, तो हम लोग 2 मिनट इस्तेमाल करेंगे क्योंकि हमारे पास टाइम नहीं है ज्यादा। तो हम लोग थोड़ा डिस्कस करेंगे कि लाइफ में जो हम चॉइसेस करते हैं बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं। तो हम लोग भगवद गीता के बारे में हम लोग पिछले हफ्ते हम लोग काफी बातचीत हुआ, अलग अलग चीजें का हम लोग ध्यान किया, और ये भी पता चला कि भगवान श्री कृष्ण के कहते हैं कि मेरा भक्त बनिए, मेरा भजन करो और मुझे आप सब अर्पण कीजिए, और भगवान पे हम लोग पूरा समर्पण करना चाहिए अपने आप को। ये हमारे जो स्टेजेस हैं, ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम, गृहस्थ आश्रम, वानप्रस्थ आश्रम, संन्यास आश्रम, हमारे जो वर्ण आश्रम धर्म है इससे बने हुए कि आखिरी हम लोग पूरा अपना सब कुछ भगवान को सौंप देते हैं। So, what I was asking for is just like we see in the interview is we make choices in life. So, आप लोग क्या सोचते हैं choices के बारे में? Himanshu, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Himanshu. आप choices कैसे करते हैं? हाँ.
Yeah, sometimes we have some confusions and dilemmas. So when we if we will read Bhagavad Gita, then we will get our answers.
वेरी गुड. तो अपने
And
जो चॉइसेस जो हम लोग करते हैं वो इन्फ्लुएंस हो जाते हैं दोस्तों के वजह से, माता पिता के वजह से, सोसाइटी के वजह से वो इन्फ्लुएंस हो जाते हैं. सो दैट्स व्हाई इट शुड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू मेक द राइट चॉइसेस. जस्ट लाइक प्रभु
Yeah.
जी कह रहे थे उस वीडियो में, आप देखेंगे, ही मेड द राइट चॉइसेस फ्रॉम हिज टीचर्स. ही गॉट so much from his teachers, he got so much from the association of devotees, and of course the Bhagavad Gita. तो हम लोगों के बहुत ये ध्यान करना चाहिए, हम लोग किसका संग कर रहे हैं, हम क्या क्या चॉइसेस ले रहे हैं जिंदगी, अगर हम आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं. So we should be very able to make those right choices. So
Yeah.
today, just like we talk on Bhagavad Gita, now we're going to do the Ramayana. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint that I had for the Ramayana today. So we're going to this PC and then document, open. So we're going to talk on the Ramayana. Ramayana is very famous. Everybody grew up listening to the stories of Ramayana. But we have a different approach on Ramayana. This is a very beautiful picture depicting the whole Ramayana. It's amazing that how we can have the whole Ramayana in one picture. So we can see this in this small picture, the whole thing. So we talk about Ramayana. We can, if you remember, we had this picture about the Puranas. And in the different 18 Puranas, we also mentioned that Ramayana is an account originally related to by Brahma in 1 billion verses. Is really imaginable to understand 1 billion verses of Ramayana. Later, Narad Muni summarized it to Valmiki. तो बाद में रामायण जो 1 बिलियन वर्सेस है, नारद मुनि संक्षेप में वाल्मीकि को सुनाए. तो आइए हम देखते हैं कि ये वाल्मीकि रामायण जो है, जो हम जानते हैं, जो प्रसिद्ध है, उसके बारे में. There are many variations of Ramayana, but we are going to talk about Valmiki's Ramayana. The Ramayana is the other great Sanskrit epic besides the Mahabharata. We know we have 2 epics in our scripture. We have the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. And the Mahabharata, we can say that the Ramayana will date in Tetra Yuga, which is about 2 billion years ago. And the first person to compile the Ramayana was Valmiki. And actually, the name Ramayana means the path of Lord Ram. And the Ramayana had this distinction to be Adikavya. Adikavya means the first poem with the storehouse of Sanskrit literature. It was very poetic. All the verses, our scriptures was composed and compiled in a very poetic fashion. And the Ramayana was the first poem or the storehouse of Sanskrit literature that we have. And that's why the Ramayana is known as a Adikavya. Now, who was Valmiki? In his previous life, there's a nice story about Valmiki. Maharishi Valmiki was the author of the original story of Ramachandra, known as a Valmiki Ramayana. Any volunteer who wants to read the story, if you can see it on the screen, anybody who wants to read the story? Kushi, any volunteer who wants to read the story?
Sure,
I see it
Prabhu.
on the screen. Yeah. Come on.
Maharishi Valmiki is the author of the original story of Lord Ramchandra, known as the Valmiki Ramayana. He lived during the Treta Yuga and through the guidance of the spiritual master Narad Muni. He wrote the epic Ramayana prior to Lord Rama's advent. In his early life, Valmiki's name was Ratnakar and he took to robbing people for a living. Through good fortune, he once met Narad Rishi, whom he tried to attack, but the great sage convinced Ratnakar to give up his life of thievery and chant Lord Rama's name. But still, Ratnakar was not able to chant Rama. So
So he was advised to just chant the opposite, Mara. Mara means dead body. For 60,000 years, Ratnakar meditated simply on Rama, 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 during which time his body became covered by ants. Narad
Okay,
Rishi.
one second, one second. So you can see that early in his life, Valmiki was a Ratnakar, and he was a thief, and he was robbing people on the street. Any passing, any travelers that would come, he would rob him, and this is how he would earn his living. But when he met Narad Muni, by the association of Narad Muni, right? Because association with a pure devotee, just like in the scripture, it said, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Koi, Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. By the moment's association of a pure devotee, we can realize the perfection of all siddhis. So he became purified by the association of Narad Muni. And then Narad Muni requested him to stop these activities and take to the name of Ram, Lord Ram. But he was so sinful that he wasn't able to utter Lord Ram. So then Narad Muni said, okay, you can't say Ram, but say Mara, Mara, Mara 3 times. So 3 times, if you say Mara, 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 it will be Rama. So that will become Ram. So that's how Narad Muni tricked him to chant the name of Ram. And that would be for 60,000 years that he'd been meditating on the word, only saying Mara, 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 and it became Rama, Rama, Ram, Ram, and he realized that. So, and after all these 16,000 years, his whole body became covered by an ant hill. Can he, in his whole meditation, he was not aware for 60,000, staying in one place and meditating. The ants came and built a whole hill on it. And then when Narad Muni came and took him out, broke the ant hill, and he named him as Valmiki, because he was born from that, a new birth, because he came out of that ant hill. That's why he was known as Valmiki. Yeah, please continue to read now.
Narad Rishi returned and uncovered the sage from the anthill, informed him that his meditation was successful, and bestowed on him the name Valmiki. Since he was born an anthill, Valmiki learned the story of Lord Rama from Narad and was instructed to write the story in poetry from by Lord Brahma.
Brahma.
Valmiki was also present during Lord Ramchandra's time on earth. He had a hermitage in the forest and was visited by Lord Rama, his wife Sita, and his brother Lakshman. During their 14-year exile period, Lord Rama asked Valmiki if he knew a good place where they could set up camp. Valmiki in turn gave a beautiful description of a pure devotee pure,
Of the Lord.
of the Lord. I'm not able to see.
It's okay.
Of the
And
Lord,
told,
and
and
told
I'll read it. I'll read if you want. And told Rama to always dwell in the heart of a devotee. So he was asked where what's a beautiful place, place that Lord Rama was asking Valmiki, what is a good place where they could set up again? Then Valmiki would say, it's in my heart, in the beautiful description given, like the heart of a devotee. That's the best place for Rama to have a place, to have a good place. That is in poetic fashion. But the whole account is described in detail in Tulsidas Ramcharitmanas later. Valmiki also provided shelter to Sita Mata, and when she was abandoned by Lord Rama. And Sita's 2 sons, Love and Kush, was born in Valmiki's hermitage, and the sage acted as their spiritual master. So before that happened, the Narad Muni came to Valmiki's ashram when after Valmiki came out of the anthill, and he had an ashram, and he was meditating there. So once Narad Muni came, and Valmiki presented his obeisances and had his feet washed and offered his respects. And then there were other, in the assembly in the ashram of Valmiki, there were other sages. and then they were asking different questions for the welfare of the world, because the rishis, the munis, the maharishis, they will always look for the benefit of our human society. And he was asking, Valmiki asked Narad Muni that on this earth at that time, right? He was asking at that time, on that who is the foremost of all personalities? Who was like the greatest personality on that time on earth? He was asking this question to Narad Muni. And he wanted to know that who is a noble-minded, most noble-minded, most truthful, most grateful, most clever. Who is the one who possesses the most flawless character? सबसे अच्छा, सबसे इंसान व्यक्ति जो धरती पे है, सबसे शुद्ध, सबसे पवित्र, सबसे सत्यवादी, सबसे जितेंद्रिय. Or he was asking, who is that person who is never influenced by anger, by काम, क्रोध, मोह, anger, is completely free from that? And who is the one, कौन है जो सर्वरक्षक, इस तीनों लोग का सर्वरक्षक है? This is Narad Muni. This is a question that Valmiki is asking Narad Muni when Narad Muni is visiting his ashram. So Narad Muni answers. He says, Narad Muni is saying, "O Rishi, there is one king, and his name is Ram, who appeared in the dynasty of Ishwaku, the Surya dynasty. He's the son of Maharaj Dasharat, and he's an embodiment of all these good qualities and opulences." ये जो आप कह रहे हैं, ये सब गुण जो है, ये राम के पास है. So Valmiki is saying, Narad Muni is saying to Valmiki about the glories of Lord Ram. So it was the same contemporary time. So Lord Ram के बारे में Valmiki को बताया. So then Narad Muni said that when he was saying this story about Lord Ram, how Lord Ram grew up, how Lord Ram was so heroic in battle, and how he was so a perfect human being. We have two types of avatar of the Lord. We have the Lila Purushottam, who is Krishna, and we have the Maryada Purushottam, who is Lord Ram. So Ram came on this planet to teach us how a human being should live his life, right? His or her life. So that's Maryada Purushottam, how a human being, a human being should stay in the society. So that's very exemplary. So life history of Lord Ram is very exemplary. And Narad Muni is telling Valmiki about this exemplary king. So, and that's what people always talk about Ram Rajya. So after then Narad Muni do predictions. See, the Rishi Muni, they predict in the future. So Narad Muni is reciting the whole life of Ram and what will happen, and how he will rule the earth for 11,000 years before returning to Ayodhya Dham in Vaikuntha Lok. So then, after Narad Muni goes away, Valmiki goes on the river and take a bath, and there he happens to see two cranes, जो हिंदी में कहते हैं क्रॉन्चा जो पक्षी है, जो क्रेन्स होता है, दो पक्षी को देखते हैं. तो वो जब देखते हैं ये दो पक्षी वो अपनी लीला में, उसी समय एक there is a hunter that comes. निषाद रेस का एक वो आते हैं, एक हंटर आकर के, और उस पक्षी को जो मेल है उसको मार देते हैं. तो उसको देख करके बहुत दुख हो जाता है वाल्मीकि को, बहुत दुख होते हैं. तो उस क्रोध में आकर के उस हंटर को उसको शाप दे देते हैं. तो जब वो शाप देते हैं, पनिशमेंट देते हैं कि आपने एक मासूम सा जानवर को आप मान दिया है, तो उस समय जब वो उस शाप क्रोध में आकर के दिए, तो वहां पे उनको वाल्मीकि को थोड़ा महसूस हुआ ये कि जो चल रहे हैं संसार में, whatever is happening in the world is beyond our control and it's governed by the most immaterial nature. और वाल्मीकि थोड़ा पश्चाताप कर रहे हैं कि मैंने कैसे उसको शाप दिया, क्योंकि ये तो हमारा बस के नहीं है, ये कंट्रोल में नहीं है हमारा पूरा जो प्रकृति चल रहे हैं, ये हर व्यक्ति अपने कर्म के हिसाब से ये चल रहे हैं। तो इसे करने से क्या हुआ वाल्मीकि को, तो उनको ये एक पोएटिक प्रकार का शब्द प्रकट हुआ उनके मुंह से, जो एक श्लोक का रूप धारण किया। वही से लेकर के उन्होंने कोशिश किया लिखने के लिए, तो वो रामायण शुरू करें लिखने के लिए, अपने अपने शौक को रामायण शुरू कर, और वो ब्रह्मा जी से। तो उसी समय ब्रह्मा जी आते हैं और ब्रह्मा जी उनको आशीर्वाद देते हैं कि आप ये लिखिए, राम के बारे में लिखिए, आपको सुकून मिलेगा, आपका हाथ जो कष्ट पहुंचा वो भी दूर हो जाएंगे और आपको शांति भी मिलेगा। तो इसलिए राम वाल्मीकि ने 24,000 श्लोकों में पूरा रामायण लिखे। तो ये आपका ये जो मैं स्टोरी बताया, ये बालकांड में है, रामायण में है। तो आइए हम देखते हैं आगे किस प्रकार का लेसन है। अलग अलग प्रकार का लेसन सीखने का मौका मिलता है। We get every times to learn so many things from Ramayana. But one simple lesson we can learn from Valmiki is another story that we'll take. Any other volunteer who wants to read the story? Any volunteer who wants? Samira? Yeah, Samira, you can read the story.
A simple lesson to learn from Valmiki. When
Yeah.
Valmiki completed his Ramayana, Narada wasn't impressed. It is good, but Hanuman's is better, he said. That monkey has written the Ramayana too. Valmiki didn't like this at all and wondered whose Ramayana was better. So he set out to find Hanuman. In Kadali Vana, grove of plantains, he found Ramayana inscribed on 7 broad leaves of banana tree. He read it and found it to be perfect. The most exquisite choice of grammar and vocabulary, meter and melody. He couldn't help himself. He started to cry. Is it so bad? Asked Hanuman. No, it is so good, said Valmiki. Then why are you crying? Asked Hanuman. Because after reading your Ramayana, no one will read my Ramayana, replied Valmiki. Hearing this, Hanuman simply tore up the 7 banana leaves, stating, now no one will ever read Hanuman's Ramayana. Hanuman said, you need your Ramayana more than I need mine. You wrote your Ramayana so that the world remembers Valmiki. I wrote my Ramayana so that I remember Ram. At that moment, he realized how he had been consumed by the desire for validation through his work. He had not used the work to liberate himself from the fear of invalidation. He had not appreciated the essence of Ram's tale to unknot his mind. His Ramayana was a product of ambition, but Hanuman's Ramayana was a product of affection. That's why Hanuman's Ramayana sounded so much better. Valmiki realized that greater than Ram is the name of Ram. Ram se bhara Ram ka naam. This
Very
story
good.
tells us that there are people like Hanuman who don't want to be famous. They just do their jobs and fulfill their purpose. So let's not be like Valmiki, thinking our Ramayana is the best. There are many unsung Hanumans too in our life. Your spouse, mother, father, friends. Let's remember them and be grateful to all.
Yeah, this is the lesson that we should learn, that sometimes behind the scene, We can see the outward part of stuff, right, in life, but behind there's so many things. Just like you at home, you're able to go to school and study nicely because your parents are supporting you. Your mom is in the kitchen and feeding you. She's washing the clothes and she's doing all the work, and then you are free and you are able to do the studies and you're able to go to school. But we don't realize that we take things for granted. And from this story, we can really understand that certain things we take for granted, and we should not develop ahankar. We should not have a false ego. Oh, we made this, and it's a bit better. Just like here, Lord Hanuman, for instance, he didn't boast about his devotion to Lord Ram. He wrote that whole Ramayana in 7 leaves, some banana leaves, but he just told that just for the sake of Valmiki. So there is an element of sacrifice here also that is there. So let us go and go further about the variations of the Ramayana. Besides the Valmiki Ramayana, we have different authentic version of Lord Ram's life, which is a variations as because the story has been retold in different parts of India. So we also have an early Sanskrit version of Ramayana be found in Mahabharata, where it says narrates it to Yudhishthir. And that is known as a Ramopakyana in the Aranya Parava of the Mahabharata. You can still find the story of Lord Ramayana in Mahabharata even. Another early Sanskrit version is in the Harivamsha. In the Harivamsha Shastra, you do find the story of Lord Ram. And even the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the 9th canto in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a piece of of the Ramayana in there also. Now, in South India, there was a sage named Kampan of the 11th century, and he wrote the whole Ramayana in Tamil version, and he named it as Iramavartaram. And we have Kampan's retelling the same. It had a Telugu version, and also in the 13th century, and a Bengali version in the 14th century. But the most one that everybody knows in India is the famous Ramcharitmanas, who was written in 16th century by the great Saint Tulsidas Ji. So that is most of the different variations of Ramayana. But what about Ramayana in other countries? We have Ramayana versions of Ramayana in other countries, like for instance, we have Cambodia, and there the name of the Ramayana is Rimeka. In Burma, it's called Yama Zatwa. In Japan, it's called Ramen Sho. In Laos, it's called Fralak Fralam. In China, they have Ramayana, the story as Lidu Jijing. In Indonesia, it's known as Kakawin Mayam. In Thailand, it's Ramakin. In Philippines, Maharadya Lavana. In Malaysia, Hikayat Seri Rama. So we have different types of Rama, and there are different changes also. Just like here, you can have a Muslim version of the Ramayana in South India, in Kerala, where they did some changes in the names, but it's the same story with some changes. Is in a verse, in a poetic fashion, in a song, which people sing. Is called Mapila. And the Malaysian version also is there, but they have some changes of the story. They mix match the names. And in the Thai Ramayana also, it's not actually the bona fide version because they messed up with who is who. Just like, for instance, they are saying that in the Thai version, you will see that the Sita is the daughter of Ravana, which is completely wrong. So they messed up. So these versions of Ramayana around the world is a proof of the Vedic civilization who is all throughout the world. So although they don't have the right information of the real Ramayana, but it's our duty for us to preach and to teach the absolute form of the Ramayana. Now, Valmiki composed Ramayana under the blessings of Brahmaji and Narad Muni in 24,000 verses, which are compiled in 7 books as described below. So there are 7 books, 7 partitions. The first book is known as the Balakanda, relates to the divine birth of Lord Ram, his childhood, and his marriage to Sita. The second book is Ayodhya Kand, where Valmiki narrates the preparation of the coronation of Rama and the intrigue that leads to Rama's forest exile. And the third book is Aranya Kanda, describe the forest life of Rama, Sita, Lakshman, and the personalities they meet, and the kidnapping of Sita by Ravana. In the fourth book, we have Kishkinda Kanda, and this is where Lord Ram meets Hanuman and Sugriva, and they have a strong alliance, and they have whole monkey army to go to fight with Ravana. And this is where Lord Ram kills Bali and establishes Sugriva as the king of Kishkinda. And the fifth book is Sundarkand, where elaborately it's a Leela of Hanuman, who manages to find Sita Mata in Lanka and give a message from Lord Ram that Rama is still here, and Rama's rings is an evidence, right? And the sixth canto, sixth part of the book is Yuddha Kanda, the long-awaited battle of Ram's army, and the whole description of the battle is there, and how Rama emerges victorious and establishes the ideal God-centered kingdom known as Ram Raj. And in the seventh book, which is Uttarkand, is generally considered an addendum. Here, Ram's two sons, Kush and Love and Kush, are born to Sita Mata in Valmiki's hermitage, to which she had been banished by Lord Ram after he had rumors of infidelity. Eventually, Kusha and Lava are established on the throne of Ayodhya, but Sita merges into the earth after being very remorseful about the situation. So that is the whole content of the Ramayana summarized. And now we are going to take Adi Prabhu. How much time I have? We have time for the quiz, right? Haribol. So we're going to directly to do the quiz, so as I won't waste time. So I'll send you the link of the quiz in 1 second. Let me.
Yes, Prabhu.
How much time you have for the quiz?
We have enough time. We have at least 30 minutes.
Okay, very good. So we'll go to the
25, 30,
quiz.
yeah.
We'll go directly to the quiz. So before I go to the quiz, any questions you have? I'll take some questions before we go directly to the quiz. Any questions?
So I have just one comment, like कि अभी जो है मतलब प्रभु जी रामायण महाभारत सारे जो टॉपिक्स है जस्ट टच कर रहे हैं, तो बाकी हम आगे जाके हो सकता है जैसे भी होगा समय के हिसाब से हम उसको डिस्कस करेंगे. Yes sir, you can elaborate this.
Yeah, so these whatever we've been going through Bhagavad Gita, we've been going Mahabharata, we've been through all these scriptures. It's just like just like like an expose. It's not the actual thing. So we'll try to, in the future, after we're done with our whole syllabus, then we'll go in details. So this is just like an introduction to the subject.
Kushri has some question. One question.
Yeah, if anybody has a question, they can ask me a question before I go to the.
Kushri has written, yes, Prabhuji, why Lord Rama abandoned his wife Sitama? Even Ma Sita was innocent.
That's a very popular question. But in short, I'll just mention that Lord Ram was in a position of a king. And for a king, he considers his whole praja as his whole family. So for a king, actually, there's no, it's hard to say, but it's a fact. But at that time, they had such ideals. Their ideology was so high that the element of sacrifice was everything. But one thing is, I'll answer this question by a simple story. When Lord Ram brought Sita to Ayodhya, and Ayodhya, in the palace, there's a special type of museum where there is the murtis, the vigrahas of the previous kings. Then Lord Ram is telling Sita Mata, look, my grandfather is here, Harishchandra, the great Harishchandra is here, the one who who sacrificed everything, and who promised. With one thing in all of these kings, they had one tradition. Ragukul Sadarit Aaye, Pran Jaye par Vachan na jaye. He said that whenever a promise is made in my dynasty, that has to be fulfilled at the cost of one's life. So that was a very powerful moment for Sita Mata, and then she knew that, and then he promised that all these kings, they had one wife, two wives, but I promise you that you will be my only wife. Yeah, and Lord Ram accepted only, because that was the tradition that time to have like 3 wives, 2 wives, but he promised that he will have only one wife, and that would be Sita Mata. But at the same time, that proves how much that Lord Ram loves Sita Mata, and is so faithful and dutiful to Sita Mata. That's first point that we have to understand. It's not because of neglect that he abandoned Sita, but as a sacrifice because of the praja. The praja means because of the society, of the mishearings that the people were, of the gossiping, what was going on, and to be like an example, because for a king to be exemplary, he has to sacrifice. So he sacrificed Mother Sita just to be to show by example that he's not attached to anything, although inside he has a beautiful relationship with Sita Mata, an eternal relationship with Sita Mata. So that's why we should understand in the spiritual way that Lord Ram never abandoned Sita. Even after Sita was staying in Valmiki's ashram, so every day Lord Ram will perform sacrifices, but he will always have a murti of Sita Mata next to him, full of gold. And Sita Mata was next to him and performing the sacrifice, because when you do fire sacrifice for a married man, the wife should be always next to him, so that the sacrifice be fulfilled. So he had made a murti, a golden statue of Sita Mata next to him to perform the sacrifices that he was doing every day. It's because of his so should we also abandon our close ones for society? So we can't imitate the lords. We can't imitate Krishna. We can't imitate Lord Ram. But if ever you have in a position of a king, and you have to take big decisions in regard to the big society and your responsibility, then you have to sacrifice. It's not abandoning, but you can sacrifice the close one. Just like Arjun had to sacrifice his own brothers and own elders in the battle of Kurukshetra, because it was fighting for a higher purpose. So in life, there will be a situation where you have to fight for a higher purpose. For instance, suppose you are there in Indian movies, you will see that there's like there are so many Indian movies like that, where I remember an old movie with Amitabh Bachchan was there, and his father was Dilip Kumar, and the father was a police officer, and the son was I think corrupt something, and the father had to shoot him. It was so hard for the father to shoot his son, but because he was acting as a police officer, he had to carry his duty, and he had to do that. So there's a sacrifice. There's a sacrifice that the father had to do, and he had to, because his son was a culprit, he had to punish him. And that was very hard to do, but still it's there. So that's an example. I'm saying that when a person in a high position of authority and responsibility, then he has to perform sacrifices. So I'm typing.
Just to add, I mean, you can mention like actually she was Vaidehi, was living with Ravana. I mean, she was not actual Sita.
Yeah. So when the Lakshman Rekha was established by Lakshman, so Lakshman had the Lakshman Rekha. and he said that you don't go there. But since Ravana disguised himself as a sadhu, so at that moment when Sita Mata, we can see that in the story of Sita Mata crossed the Lakshman Rekha. But when the Sita Mata crossed the Lakshman Rekha, the original Sita was handed over to Agni Devta, and the Maya Sita went to Ravana. So Ravana didn't even touch Sita Mata. It was a Maya Sita, it's an illusory Sita Mata. And the actual Sita stayed pure in Agni, with Agni Devta. So that is one thing that you have to remember. And then she came back afterwards. So let us do the, I'm sending the
Prabhuji,
code.
one more question if you can take in short time.
What question also?
So who say
No. There's this Hanuman's Ramayana. Nobody read it because Hanumanji wrote it there, and then he just only Hanuman knows that. So Hanumanji only he knows the whole Ramayana. He can write it again if you want, but no one read the Hanuman's Ramayana. So I just type the code to join the quiz. So I request everybody to join the quiz. I'm going to share that. I already shared it on chat, in the chat box, but now I'm going to share my screen as well. So yeah, joinmyquiz.com. So you know how to do that. You've been doing that before. So you don't go on join my quiz. You go on quizzes.com, and then this is the code. So here I'll be able to see. Okay. Okay, sorry. So Janu, let me know if you're able to go, and then we can forward the message to everybody. So let me again.
Yeah, I have sent you link. And this is the code I'm pinging. 56.
The code is 564588.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody should be having that, and I think it should be good. Let's.
And it may ask you to put your email ID and password. Yeah.
I joined already. I don't...
You're there. I should be able to see it here if you join.
You will need to start. No.
No. It says.
I can see waiting for the host to start. You are playing with 3 other players.
Waiting for participants to join. Here it says it's waiting for the participants to join. So
maybe you can refresh.
Yeah, I'll do that. Oh yeah, I can see Sangeeta joined, Kushi joined, Himanshu, Henry, Henny, Haridarshan, Prachi, Janavi. Okay, we'll wait for a few more to join. The quiz this time is very easy. Not so, I didn't make it so hard for you. We have only 7 questions, and Bhargav, thank you. Bhargav is there. Madhavi is there. We wait one more person to join, and then we'll start, and other people can still join in the meantime as we play. Very good, Samira, yeah. Okay, we'll start. Okay, questions. So the first question was, who was the first to compile Ramayana? Okay. Who was the first person to compile Ramayana into written form? कौन सा व्यक्ति है जिन्होंने सबसे पहले रामायण को लिखे हुए, कंपाइल किए हुए? व्यासदेव जी, नारद मुनि, वाल्मीकि ऋषि, ब्रह्मा जी. Second question, What is the meaning of Ramayana? Ramayana का अर्थ क्या है? The path of truth, the path of dharma, the life of Lord Rama, the path of Rama. तीसरा प्रश्न, by what name was Valmiki known previously? Rakant, Ratnakar, Ratnamak, Rakakar. This is easy. चौथा प्रश्न, what is the meaning of Valmiki? One who is born of a hut, one who is
प्रभु
born
जी
of a
मेरी आईडी
demigod.
उसमें से लीव हो गई है।
क्या हुआ भागर?
मेरी आईडी पता नहीं ऑटोमेटिकली लीव हो गई।
फिर से ट्राई करो, ऑन करना, फिर से जाना। Who wrote the Ramayana before Valmiki? Brahma ji, Narad Muni, Hanuman ji, Vyasdev ji. 6 questions. The most famous vernacular version of Ramayana in Hindi is different version of Ramayana. The Ramavartaram, Ramopakagyan, Ramacharitmanas, Ramaket. Our seventh prashna is in the fourth book, the Kishkinda Kand, Rama meets Hanuman and who? Forges a deep root alliance with them and coronates who as the king of Kishkinda? Bali Maharaj, Ravana, Vibhishan और सुग्रीवा। तो किसको भगवान श्री राम राजा बनाते जाते हैं? किष्किंधा का राजा कौन किसको बनाया? तो ये 7 प्रश्न है, which one is, let's see the leadership board and see who is going. We have Kushi, who finished all the question, Kushi as usual. And then Janavi is there, Haridarshan. And then you can still try again. If you get something wrong, you can always try again. Samira is there, Henny, Himanshu, Madhavi, Prachi. Keep trying, Prachi. और जो प्रश्न है जो किया नहीं फिर से कर लो, आप कर सकते हैं. If you get something wrong, you can still do it again. भार्गव जी आप फिर से लॉग इन करके फिर से करिए. Very good. तो और 5 मिनट्स रहते हैं, फिर हम लोग देखते हैं क्या होता है. हरे कृष्णा.
तो इसमें रैंडमली आते हैं क्वेश्चंस, तो उसकी कोई सेटिंग है क्या कि जो आप दिखा रहे हो वैसे आने चाहिए?
नहीं, इसमें रैंडम में आएगा, तो हम लोग
अच्छा, ओके.
इसमें कर नहीं सकते हैं. जैसे जो पहला वाला प्रश्न सबको सही मिला, 11 करेक्ट. जितने भी लोग किया, everybody took like 10 seconds to answer, so that was the easiest question. Second question is a bit tricky question. इसमें 9 लोगों ने सही जवाब दिया, उत्तर दिए. और तीसरा वाला was almost, the name is a bit tricky, so almost everybody did that. And what is the meaning of Valmiki? That one was that is quite good. People did a good job on that one. Who wrote the Ramayana before Valmiki? This one also almost 11 people got it right. And the most easiest one will be Ramayana in Hindi. Everybody got that one right. Ramcharitmanas, that was good. And Bali, Sugriv, Vibhishan, Ravan. चलो हम देखते हैं किस कौन कौन बाकी है, फिर हम बताएंगे प्रश्न का जवाब. अभी सब लोग माधवी कर सकते हैं. और वेरी गुड, आई थिंक ऑलमोस्ट एवरीबॉडी इज देयर नाउ. People are still doing. I'll wait for Madhavi to finish. And when she finishes, we just go on the answers. So, oh, Himanshu came. Himanshu scored the maximum point today. Then we have Hari and then Kushi.
Haridasan is playing again.
Haridarshan is playing again. Okay. Okay, let's go to the answers now. Okay, 1 minute more time. Yeah, everybody's done. So let's see who won. So first place today is Himanshu, second is Hari, and third is Kushi. Very nice. 100% Hari, Kushi, सबको 100% मिला. Okay. So let's see the questions. Okay. Class accuracy. Toughest question. Let us see the toughest question. Yeah. What is the meaning of Ramayana? That was a bit difficult. Ramayana का जो meaning है, the path of truth, the path of dharma, the life of Lord Rama, and the path of Rama. Actually, when मेरे PowerPoint में लिखा था रामायण का आयन का मतलब है Ramayana. Ramayana means the path of Ram. That was the path of Ram. Who was the first to compile Ramayana in written form? Not Vyasdev, not Narad Muni, but Valmiki Rishi. ये सब लोगों को सही जवाब मिले इसका. और what they mean? Yes, the next one is, by what name was Valmiki known previously? That was Ratnakar. Almost everybody knew this one. What is the meaning of Valmiki? One who is born of an anthill. That is the meaning. One who is born of anthill. Not one who is born of heart, not one who is there, but almost everybody got this one also. And who wrote the Ramayana before Valmiki? This one is a bit tricky, maybe. But Hanumanji, who wrote it on how many leaves? कितने पत्ते में? 7 banana leaves के ऊपर लिखा था. The most famous vernacular version of the Ramayana in Hindi is Ramcharitmanas. Everybody got that right. In the fourth book, Kishkinda, Rama meets Hanuman and who? Sugriva. Sugriva. And some people, I knew that some people would say Vibhishan, but actually it's Sugriva, and he established Sugriva as the king. So stop sharing here, and thank you for participating. It was a pleasure. सब लोगों ने अच्छी तरह से भाग लिया. हम लोग this would be the end of Ramayana, and we will take some stories in between as we move. So we completed, if you see our syllabus for this whole month, what we've been doing, we talk about Sanatan Dharma, we talk about Hinduism, we talk about the sacred texts, the Vedic literature, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas, we talk about Shrimad Bhagavatam, we talk about Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, and the Ramayana, right? This time. Next week, we're going to talk about Vaishnav Dharma. We will talk about Vaishnavism. Vaishnavism क्या है? वैष्णव धर्म की definition क्या है? कैसे ये वैष्णव अलग अलग का जो है चीजें जो हम बताएंगे नेक्स्ट वीक. तो आशा करते हैं आपको अच्छा लगा. मैं आप लोगों को एक वीडियो भेजूंगा. आप जरूर वीडियो को देखिए और अपना कमेंट्स लिखिए वीडियो में. And the one who is people who are on top of their homework every week they're doing, of course, at the end they will get a gift. So please, I'm encouraging everybody to do the video write-ups, and whoever gets the maximum points will get a gift from us. Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. See you next week. Thank you, Adikavi Prabhu. Thank you,
so much, Prabhu.
Janavi.
Your content is always good. Content was excellent.
Thank you,
as
Hare
usual.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.
So Radhe Radhe. Hare Krishna. Radhe Radhe.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Tim, Hare
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.